So it's been very interesting when you look at the way we've been led. Sometimes it's made sense, sometimes it hasn't. But to me, it's starting to make more sense than ever, and I'm quite amazed and I don't know what word to use, but I just feel really privileged and honoured with where the Lord is taking us. He's been preparing us, He's been shaping us and equipping us, but He hasn't necessarily told us what the final product is, so to speak. And I believe this is where we're headed now. Romans 8:14, for as many as are led by the Spirit of God, these are the sons of God. I believe we've had a lot of teachings about the heart. We've had a lot of teachings about trusting God and what that looks like and how we do it. We've had a lot of teachings about the river, right? We've had teachings about idolatry and dealing with the idols in our heart. But they're all starting to converge now, and I believe what the Lord is wanting us to do and where He's taking us, as sons, He's teaching us to be led by His Spirit. That's what I believe is where we're at the moment. And that's what I want to talk about today. Last week we had a great meeting. It was a small meeting, but I got quite an awesome download, and this is what I want to present today. So, since about June last year, the Lord started to introduce a new move of God, and that was the river, as many of you would know. Apart from those of you that are new, He introduced us to the river, and every meeting He encouraged us to engage with this river, and He taught us some new things about this river. And even today, ongoing, we know that this river is getting stronger and stronger as the days progress, and every meeting He encourages us to engage with this river, right? Because practice is important. It's very important. So just to give you some highlights about this new move of God, this river. These are just some of the things we've learned so far. Alright, so we know it is a new move of God. It is a spiritual river, obviously not a real one. And this river represents the very presence of God. Alright, it is discussed in Ezekiel 47. It is very much where God wants us at the moment. Not only during meetings, but at all times. And that's where we're headed. He doesn't want us playing in the shallow ends of this river. He wants us deep. He wants us fully immersed. We know that the river is a source of provision and a source of healing. We know that the river brings life to dead places. We know that the river brings supernatural increase. As sons of the kingdom, we co-create with Yeshua, and that is our mandate. So we as sons, we carry the river. We live in the water and we release the river into this dying world. That is our mandate. Alright? So let me read a little bit from Ezekiel to give you the backdrop. Then he brought me back to the door of the temple, and there was water flowing from under the threshold of the temple toward the east, for the front of the temple faced east. The water was flowing from under the right side of the temple, south of the altar. He brought me out of the way of the north gate and led me around on the outside to the outer gateway that faces east. And there was water running out on the right side. And when the man went out to the east with a line in his hand, he measured 1,000 cubits, and he brought me through the waters. The water came up to my ankles. Again he measured 1,000 and brought me through the waters. The water came up to my knees. Again he measured 1,000 and brought me through. The water came up to my waist. Again he measured 1,000, and it was a river that I could not cross, for the water was too deep, water in which one must swim, a river that could not be crossed. That is the river that we're talking about. So as I mentioned, what I'm going to share today is a revelation I received last week. And it's going to clarify, I hope, a lot of things, and it's going to make some things a lot simpler and easier to understand. I know that some of us have been able to engage with the river far more than others. Some of us are more comfortable in the river than others. But I want to bring clarity that can help you progress. It certainly helped me. So, the way we are intended to flow with this river of God, if I can use an analogy, is like a leaf, right? When a leaf sits on top of the river, or even if it sinks below, it flows effortlessly with this river, right? Effortlessly. This leaf doesn't exert control on the river. It doesn't try to manipulate the river in any way. It doesn't try to hold anything. It doesn't try to change direction. Completely and freely, it flows with the river. The river will take with it. It'll take it wherever it wants to, and it'll do anything with this leaf that it wants to. Right? And I mean this, complete freedom. Right? Release. No control. The reason we sometimes have difficulty flowing with this river and the Spirit of God is because we enter it on our terms. All right? Very often when we enter into the river, we've got things going on, particularly in the heart. Concerns, fears, anxieties, doubts, unbelief even. All right? And what they cause us to do, inadvertently, is to take control. So yes, we'll step into the river, but I'm in control. I will dictate what happens. Whether this is conscious or subconscious, we don't know. All right? But we exert control on the river and we dictate terms. We enter the river on our terms. As a result, God can't take us where He wants to take us. He can't show us what He wants to show us. All right? We end up playing in the shallow end of the river. All right? When we exert control like this as a result of what's happening in our heart, we are either stuck in the river up to our ankles, our knees, our waist. But when you have this stuff going on, you are certainly not going to enter the river to a point that you're completely submerged and free. Okay? So this is what I'm getting at now. This was the big takeaway last week. Engaging with the river of God is all about your heart. It's all about your heart. We've spoken so much about the heart already. So I'm hoping most of you will start joining the dots. It's all about your heart and where your heart is at. Very importantly, in particular, where it concerns God. Okay? To flow freely in the river, your heart has to be free, and it has to be free in Him. You might have other issues going on, other troubles, whatever. That's okay. That can be dealt with in its own time. But what's important when it comes to the river is how your heart perceives God. You see, the thing is, when you enter the river, you need to trust Him. When you are able to trust Him and trust Him completely, you will be free in Him. When you are free in Him, your heart's going to open up to Him. All right? And you will be able to enter the river to the very, very depths that He's calling you to. Okay? It's all about trusting Him. And the thing is, you can only truly trust Him and trust Him completely when your heart believes the truth about Him. And as we learned about, as we talked about a few weeks ago, very often our hearts believe lies about Him. Okay? So, yes, 2 years ago I went through a problem. God didn't seem to be there. God didn't help me. Alright? Your heart remembers that. So that's the lie that it believes. God doesn't help me. Okay? And because that lie is there, we have difficulty trusting Him. So when it comes to entering into His presence, into His river, that's still there. It starts surfacing, causes you to exert control, and you have trouble engaging with His river. Alright? You might think, I've tried to engage with the river before, nothing ever happens, I never see anything, I never hear anything. God doesn't speak to me, God doesn't show me anything. Lies, right? Again, lodged in the heart. Those things hinder us in the river. They've got to be dealt with. Alright? These lies in our hearts, they defile our hearts. And we need clean hearts, we need pure hearts to engage with the river. It's all about the heart. The truth, when your heart really believes the truth about God, it will open up like a flower, ready to receive anything and everything of God. But when the heart starts believing lies about God, it will close up. And it will defend itself against God. It thinks it's protecting you against Him because He doesn't provide, because He doesn't speak, because He doesn't reveal anything, okay? It acts on those lies. Again, most of this stuff was covered 2-3 weeks ago. So the truth is what is important, because that causes the heart to open up. Now the thing is, to some degree or another, we're all carrying stuff, wounds, issues, whatever. These wounds and issues, everything that's unaddressed, everything that still needs His touch, everything that still needs His healing, these things can give rise to fears, to doubts, to unbelief, alright? And it's these things that when they come up, they interfere with our engagement with the river. Alright? And these are the things we need to take care of. See, the thing is, when we come to God, we can't come to Him with these things in our heart. See, if you carry fear for some reason, or doubt, is He going to provide for me? Am I going to be healed? He's not going to do anything. He's not going to help me. Alright? That's what unbelief sounds like. When we come to Him with these things in our heart, they are an offense to Him. Okay? And they are an offense to Him because they question His goodness. They question the very word that says the complete opposite. And when we carry these things in our heart, we're bringing them to Him. Okay? So it just makes things very awkward. You can't flow with Him. You need to get rid of these things because that's the enemy speaking. Those are the enemy's words. You can't carry them in your heart when you want to engage in the river. Okay? These things, fears, doubts, unbeliefs, whatever you're going through that is in your heart, these act like anchors. Okay? They anchor you to something else apart from God, apart from the river. They hold you down. And you can't flow with the river. Alright? So your heart's got to be clean. It's got to be pure. It's got to be open to Him. Alright? You might think easier said than done, but there are ways of dealing with this stuff. Thank God, because I've certainly been in a lot of trouble otherwise. So when fear, doubt, and unbelief come up, they cause you to exert control, they cause you distress, become anxious, apprehensive, fearful, and they restrict you. You're not able to move freely with the river of God. Okay? Control is the very opposite of the freedom we're supposed to move in. And that's what we're going to look at. And I know this is key, this is very important. Many of us, when we've tried to engage with the river of God, with His presence, what we very often do, and a very big mistake at that, is we'll try and engage Him, try so hard to enter into His presence, and we'll set aside anything in us that opposes what we want and what we're trying to do. Okay? So, you might have a fear of something or other, or an inability to trust God completely or deeply. So what you want to do when you try and engage Him is you just set that aside, pretend it doesn't exist. And then you try and engage, and nothing happens. Okay? And then we wonder why. So I'm going to come back to a verse that I've probably spoken out 100 times before. Matthew 15:8. These people draw near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Alright? The key is in that verse. When you speak to God, when you approach Him, yeah, of course He looks at you and He says what, and He hears what you have to say. But He's also looking at your heart. Okay? Very much so. He's always looking at your heart. So here's the key to engaging Him effectively and being able to hear, see, and receive. Right? This is very, very, very important. God looks at your heart when you engage with Him. So when you engage with Him, it's also important that you look at your own heart too. You got that? Your heart is the gateway to the kingdom of heaven. Your heart is the gateway. It's very important. so important. You can't just brush it aside. When your heart says, I can't trust God, you can't just brush that aside and pretend it doesn't exist. Your heart's the gateway. You need to be looking at your heart at all times when you're engaging with God. Okay? Because the state of your heart is going to determine your engagement with God. Alright? Why does God look at the heart? Why is the heart so important? Galatians 4:6. And because you are sons, God has sent forth the Spirit of His Son into your hearts, crying out, Abba, Father. The Spirit of His very Son is in your heart. That's why He looks at your heart. That's why the heart's so important. That's why we can't set the heart aside. When the heart has issues, we have to deal with them. We have to address them. Okay? Otherwise, it's going to be an obstacle. So, I know few of us are in a position of total trust. I think to some degree or another, we all carry stuff that has to be dealt with. We all have niggling issues that have to be addressed. But that's okay. God's made a way. What I want to do now is an exercise with you all. Something we've done many times here at the Upper Room, but we're going to do it differently this time. Okay? So, Karen, would you mind giving me a hand, please? We're going to hand out some just papers and pencils and just a DVD to Nemo. You can write notes if you want. You don't have to. It's up to you. What we're going to do is an exercise in entering the river. All right, as we've done many times before. But this time what I'm going to ask you guys to do is as we enter the river, also focus on how you feel. Right? How are you feeling? It's very important. Usually we ignore it. We pretend it doesn't exist. Sometimes you may even think, I don't know what my heart's thinking or feeling, right? And I totally get that. But the thing is, once you start looking for it and you start listening to your heart, you'll pick it up. It's because we've so often ignored it that we don't understand what it's saying or thinking or feeling. Alright? When the heart speaks, it is very often subtle. It's very subtle. And you'll only hear it if you're listening for it. That's what's important to understand. We're going to enter the river and we're going to seek Him out. But at the same time, I'm asking you all, be sensitive to your heart. What's going on inside of you? How are you feeling? What is your heart saying? If you want to, no pressure otherwise. Use this opportunity to journal your foray into the river. Alright? Because how you feel, right, and what you encounter will often reveal the damage that your heart contains, the pains, the experiences, the lies. Alright? They are all indicators of what your heart's containing. Okay? So whatever you experience, it's a good thing. Even if what you experience is bad, it's actually a good thing because it highlights the issues you can address, the issues that need to be addressed. And once they're addressed, you'll be able to move more freely with God. Alright? So make a note of everything, regardless of what it may be. What it may be. It doesn't matter. Okay? Make a note. But listen to your heart. I'm going to lead you through the exercise, it's sort of like a meditation exercise. And we're going to enter the river together. But I want you all to focus on how your heart feels. Okay? You don't have to work it all out. You don't have to work it all out. You don't even have to understand it all. But just at the very least, I'm hoping you're going to be able to listen to your heart. Okay? And let me leave you with three things before we begin. If you encounter fear or doubt or unbelief, these are spirits, okay? And they feed off our damage more often than not, or the lies that we believe. So when you encounter them, know that That is not you. That is not how you feel. Truly. Okay? It is a spirit that's come to stop you and block you. That's how they interfere with our flowing the river. So if you come to a point where you feel anxious or fearful, what you do is you recognize it, first of all. You say, Lord, I know this is not of you. I reject this spirit of fear. I cut it off and I nail it to the cross. Or do it in any which way is comfortable for you. Whichever way you warfare, do it. But reject that fear, that doubt, that unbelief. Confess it, reject it. I've done this countless times and I can tell you it's powerful. Because it just clears the blockages. They try and block you. And simply by doing that, you get them out of the way. Alright? And you can feel your heart getting cleared up. Alright? This is how we prepare ourselves as broken people to enter into the river and to flow freely with it. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Alright. Now what I want you to do, I want you to imagine that you're on the side of a bank, a river bank. You're in this world, but you are going to step into the river of God. And you're going to step in, ankle deep, into His very presence. And as you do that, focus on His presence, focus on Him. Try and open your heart up to Him and trust Him as much as you can. And pay attention to your heart. How is your heart responding? Let's do that for 5 minutes. I want you to go easy and try and trust more, try and open your heart more. I want you to go waist deep. Try and trust the Lord even more and listen to what the heart is doing and saying. All the way over your head. Start stepping you back out of the world. Although we're meant to be there all the time. I hope that exercise was enough. I know some of you want to stay there. Sorry to pull you out. I hope that exercise was enough at least to show you that your heart does have an opinion and it does believe certain things and it does say certain things. The importance of what we just did is this, right? The heart doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. That's why when you imagine yourself in the woods at night being chased by a wild animal, you're going to feel fear. Even though you're sitting comfortably in the upper room right now, you'll still feel the fear. Your heart doesn't know the difference between what you imagine and what's real. So that's why when you do this exercise and you step into the river with your imagination, your heart will respond. And it will respond according to what it contains. It will respond according to the impurities that are in your heart. The lies, the wounds, they're all going to speak up. Your heart's going to respond. And when it responds, it gives you an opportunity to deal with it. See, so I don't know if you realize this, but engaging with the river is all about the heart. And what we've just done is an exercise in delivering the heart. You deliver the heart of all fears, doubts, and unbeliefs. You set it free so that you can engage with the river of God. You can engage freely. Okay? This is the groundwork we can do every time we engage with the river. Some of us don't have that issue. We can just slip in straight away, and away you go. But others of us have a bit of work to do. And it's not hard. It's not hard. Once you get to know it, it's not hard. But as you deal with this stuff, as it arises, right? So you imagine you're in the river of God. This stuff comes up and you deal with it. You deal with the fears, the doubts, the unbelief. Sometimes they just keep coming. They come. It requires a bit of patience and persistence. But I guarantee you, at some point they stop coming. And at that point your heart is free and you can feel it. It's profound. It's powerful. And at that point you can flow freely with the river of God. Okay? You do it by delivering your heart. And your heart needs deliverance because of the wounds and the brokenness that you contain. Okay? Did anyone have any sort of experiences they want to share? I know this is very personal stuff, but is there anything anyone wants to share or any questions? Did this work? Even if it's a criticism? All right, I want to thank those of you, or everyone, thank you all for sharing. But in particular, I want to thank those of you that were really brutally honest and shared the hard bits. But I really want to take this opportunity to point something out. Ivka, you said being unworthy and undeserving. And Ray, you mentioned, here we go again. I want to point out, when these are imperfect examples of the heart speaking. That is your heart speaking, and I'm so glad you guys recognize that. I mean, of course, all of your hearts spoke and they said other things, and most of you experienced beautiful things. But what I was hoping to address today is the tough stuff, okay, the blockages, and you guys had an opportunity to hear them and deal with them, okay. Ray, if I could, I'd love to use your example because it's a good one. It's one that I really relate to. Here we go again. Yes. When your heart says something like that, it's usually an indicator to deeper things going on. Okay? There's more underneath that. It's the tip of the iceberg. Okay? So if you want to have more powerful experiences in the river, I would explore what does that mean. Ask the Lord to reveal to you what is underneath that statement. There could be a whole bunch of stuff. And as it's revealed to you, go and repent for it, deal with it. Alright? And you'll find that you'll be able to flow more freely through it. Okay, that's a perfect example. Perfect. That's how the heart speaks. It's not going to lay everything out for you. It's just going to make a smart comment sometimes. Okay? But you explore that. But this is what we do. We set our hearts free so that we can flow with the river of God. As we flow with Him, He's going to start revealing other things as He's done already. Right? He's going to reveal other things that need to be addressed. But what we want to do is get to that point where He is able to deal with us. Alright? And only you, unfortunately, it's not unfortunately, it's not a big deal. Only you are able to set your heart free to flow with the river of God. You can't get other people to pray for you and do it for you. Okay? But watch out for those lines, those throwaway lines. Okay? Very important. That's the heart speaking. And when they do come, explore them. What is underneath that comment? What is underneath that line? So what I want to encourage you, I'm going to finish off with this now, is practice, practice, practice. We've really just touched the tip of the iceberg. We are meant to flow in this river all the time. All the time. All the time. Not just when we come here. Not just in our quiet times at home. All the time. When we're working, we're playing, we're shopping. Okay? We are meant to be in constant communion with the Spirit of God. So that He can think and He can speak and show and do what He wants to do at the drop of a hat. Regardless of where you are and what you're doing. It's going to take practice. And as you practice, these things are going to come up. And they're going to be revealed. And they're going to be dealt with. And as they are dealt with, your walk is going to grow stronger. Your ability to flow in the river is going to get better. It's going to become more powerful. Alright? We need to practice this all the time. That's what's going to bring the cleansing. That's what's going to bring the freedom. Be vigilant with your heart. Protect it, purify it. And anytime you come here and we ask you to enter into the river with us, it might take that little bit of extra effort just in the beginning. Clear up your heart, set it free so that you can flow with the rest of us. I certainly have to do that. But by all means, please don't ignore these things in your heart. They are crucial, they are paramount. Deal with them. Okay? Whether it's here or whether it's in the quiet, study in your house, wherever's best for you. Alright? So I'm going to leave it there. If anyone has any questions, I want to talk about it, please by all means come and talk. But I do want to leave you with this final point. This is something the Lord showed me last week. It sort of rocked my boat a bit, but I'll give it to you anyway. Genesis 3:8. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Okay? At one point, the Garden of Eden was a place we all know very well what it was. Today, the Garden of Eden is in your hearts. Alright? Unfortunately, most of our gardens are overrun with weeds and dead wood and whatnot. As we clear out this garbage, as we've done today, it becomes a lovely, beautiful, flourishing garden again. And as it flourishes and grows, the Lord is going to come and walk with you in your garden, inside the garden in your hearts. Okay? That was what was shown to me last week. So I encourage you all to learn to walk in this, exercise it, do the work that's necessary so we can all get to where we need to be.